U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu have delivered joint remarks after their bilateral meeting in Jerusalem. The two leaders reiterated their support for the recently announced Israel UAE peace agreement. They also vowed to present a united front against the threat posed by Iran in West Asia. Pompeo said that the U.S. would never let Iran obtain a nuclear weapon. The U.S. reaffirmed its intention to maintain Israel's military edge in the region and promised to review military sales to the UAE. The two sides also discussed their joint response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Netanyahu hailed the U.S. as Israel's closest and most important ally and thanked U.S. President Donald Trump for his efforts to bring peace in the region. The leaders also discussed Chinese aggression in different parts of the world. Listen in to what the Israeli Prime Minister had to say.
Powerful alliance of value. Two great things that have happened since our last meeting. The first is that you have stood up to Iran's aggression and triggered the snapback sanctions. I want to commend you for doing so. I think people should realize that the Iran deal failed just as we predicted. Not only did it not mollify Iran's aggression, it fueled it and increased it. And we've seen Iran, since the JCPOA was concluded, emerging from its cage and devouring one country after another, targeting countries with rockets, with terrorism, with pillage and plunder and murder all over the Middle East and even beyond the Middle East, including into your hemisphere. And in fact, to see the Security Council not only not join the American snapback sanctions, but resist it or stand on the sidelines and allow this embargo on Iranian arms shipments to Iran to agree to it, I think is outrageous. That means that this regime will get tanks and aircraft and missiles and anti-aircraft defenses to continue its campaign of aggression throughout the region and the world. It's just absurd. So I want to congratulate you for standing there. We stand with you. I have to say that quite a few years ago, I had to stand sometimes alone in publicly rejecting the JCPOA and alerting the world on Iran's aggression. That obviously changed with the inauguration of President Trump and everything that you have done since. But I think it's important to point out that today we hear Gulf countries in the Gulf, speak out as forcefully as I'm doing now. And I think that I would suggest to our friends, especially our European friends, this point, that when Arabs and Israelis agree on something, it makes sense to pay attention. So congratulations on the stand, on the snapback, and on your overall opposition to Iran's aggression and its quest for nuclear weapons.
This is what Mike Pompeo and Benjamin Netanyahu had to say on the Israel-UAE peace deal.
The second thing that has happened is equally historic, and that is the achievement of the Israeli-Emirati peace agreement, the creation of full normalization between Israel and the United Arab Emirates. This has been brokered by President Trump with your assistance, and it has been a boon to peace and to regional stability. I think it heralds a new era where we could have other nations join. We discussed this, and I hope we'll have good news in the future, maybe in the near future.
I wanted to come here today in part to congratulate the Prime Minister. I'll travel to the Emirates to meet with them and congratulate them too. What's taking place here is deeply consistent with what President Trump set out to do, create a more stable, more prosperous Middle East. This is a really good step in that direction. Economic relationships between the Emirates, opportunities for innovation and science, travel between these two places will now be open. And that's important. That's important to create between Israel and this Arab state this opportunity.